Over the next couple of years, while we've had fairly level energy prices maybe over the last year or so, energy prices are going to go up again. There's almost a no-brainer that they're going to go up again. And businesses really do need to be looking at now reducing energy costs. It's not just energy costs that are going up, it's the cost of everything associated with energy. So the carbon costs as well. Now 1,200 companies have been roped into sort of carbon accounting, legally mandated carbon accounting as of next April. And that's on top of the carbon reduction commitment that already covers a lot of larger businesses. So businesses need to accept that this is going to become more and more mandated, more and more legally mandated, and there's going to become an increasingly stringent sort of financial or forceful financial reasons to do this. So in terms of what businesses can do to reduce their energy costs going forward, I think the first thing that you need to do is understand how much energy you consume and how much it costs you. I would say undertaking a full scope 1, 2 and 3 carbon footprint, which is the sort of thing that Nottingham Energy Partnership will do with businesses, gives you that initial baseline. You know how much you consume in terms of energy, fuel, waste, even beyond just energy consumption. Then once you've got that, making sure you're buying it at the lowest price, making sure that you're not spending money unnecessarily, and actually looking at your tariff structures and reducing your cost per unit is the next step. Clearly, because that doesn't really cost you anything, and it's immediate savings without actually investing anything. That's the sort of thing that Torse does. So then beyond that, there's the sort of working on the lower cost or no cost type measures. That's generally working with your staff to support your staff to undertake switching off lights and turning off computers when they're not needed, and this sort of thing. Energy efficient behaviour, and often in that case you can get somebody in to talk through your staff about the issues and identify areas of savings. Often providing staff with smart metering data is quite a useful tool. So actually fitting better metering into your business, so you can provide the information to your staff to give that positive feedback. You turned off the lights all this week, it's saved this amount of energy. So I'd say behaviour change and then sort of smart metering and linking those two things together. Beyond that, smart metering is very low cost. You can often approach your energy supplier and ask them to install a smart meter. In fact, by 2017, I think all businesses, possibly 2019, all businesses are going to have smart meters anyway across the UK. But you can go early and get these things installed more quickly than that. And that allows you to unlock the sort of 5 to 8% in terms of energy savings from just changing behaviour, turning your boilers off at sort of the hour at the end and the hour at the beginning of the day when you wouldn't need them maybe. That goes into the sort of next level of things you can do really, which is basically simple building energy management. Not even engaging with your staff, it's just about making sure that your boiler isn't operating out of sort of odd hours, making sure once you've looked at your detailed smart metering data that you don't have things that cycle on halfway through the night and then go off again, unnecessarily. So you're starting to sort of build up to the sort of things which might start to need a bit of consultant support. At that level, you might need somebody to come in and look at your bills and actually analyse them and say, actually, what's this? And again, that's something we have partners that we work with around providing that sort of consultant support. Then beyond that, you start getting to things which actually cost money. And all this process beforehand really hasn't really cost you very much, but you may well have saved quite significantly on your bills. Obviously, initially, the quickest wins are usually insulation. Insulating your buildings, cavity wall insulation, loft insulation, maybe even looking at improving windows, but that is a fairly long payback. Just thermal insulation usually works. And talking with your landlord or your building owner is quite a good route through to that. And then through things like commercial lighting has a very quick payback. So upgrading older lighting to newer lighting is usually the next sort of consideration. So if we want to talk about the more fashionable end of energy technology, you're really sort of starting to talk about renewable energy systems, things like photovoltaics, solar water heating, wind turbines, biomass, ground source heat pumps, that sort of thing. There's a hierarchy of how you should interact with energy saving and energy generation, and that's really managing your energy first, measuring your energy, then reducing it, doing the untrendy stuff, but then getting through to the more exciting stuff like PVs and photovoltaics and wind turbines.
The sort of technologies businesses should be considering adopting, installing, buying, call it what you will, Solar power for heating of hot water. Solar PV for generating electricity. Wind power for generating electricity from sites which have got a fairly predictable wind corridor. Water power, where they've got a natural resource. This natural resource may be moving power, or it may be static. It may be a lake, where we would incorporate lake source heat pumps and technologies such as this. In the city, you can still incorporate a biomass boiler into your office block, for instance. It's still a sustainable way of generating heat power, or if it's a combined heat and power plant, it will generate electricity as well. An ideal example of a project that has adopted a sustainable technology has been the installation of lake source heat pumps into the Sir Colin Campbell building and the two adjacent buildings, the International Office and the Amenities Centre. All three buildings, the heating and cooling requirements come from what you call a lake source heat pump. Heat pumps have been around for about 100 years. It's like a refrigerator circuit that you use in reverse. In a refrigerator, you put food into the refrigerator, it cools it down and rejects the heat out the back. The same thing we're using here is we've got cooling water or warm water within a lake, and that is then converted into heating or cooling within the buildings. The type of efficiencies that we're looking at, and this makes a lot of sense for both environmental savings and for the bottom line, is that they're about 400% efficient. That might make you smile, but for every 1 kilowatt of energy you put in to drive the technology, you get 4 kilowatts out in either heating or in cooling. Another good example of adopting knowledge and technologies is where a group of tree surgeons came to the university because they'd identified that what they were doing was no longer sustainable. They were collecting different sources of biomass from all over the county, stockpiling it and then disposing of it, i.e. setting light to it at the end of the day and then hoping that that would go away. They saw an opportunity to add value to that waste and also adding value to their business. By working with the university, the Environmental Technology Centre in particular, we showed them how to make better use of these waste streams. So from a waste, they've now got a business where they supply to a power station, different sources of biomass. They create logs for the domestic and commercial market. They create animal bedding and other sources or types of smaller biomass for boiler installations. I would say that the best options for a typical city business on looking at sustainability and green energy, the first thing is to look how much they're using and where they're using it. That's really an assessment of where they are. That will prove whether they're good, bad or indifferent. That gives them a sort of a platform to build upon for their sustainability. Minimising it or smart use of energy, procuring energy at the right tariff, and then generating their own energy through some of the available techniques and technologies that are around, which I've already mentioned: wind, water and solar.